Welcome back to Root Double. When we last left off, we were in the middle of some shit. Some serious shit. We got to the core of Watase's malice, and we found this gal.
俺に接触したすべての人間の記憶を操作し、その悪意を増幅し、自分の魂を脳内に植え付け、己のコピーを作り続けるんだ。
Let's be clear, her mental state is the direct result of Labo research. Call it reckless or malicious research. Nonetheless, Labo and the Rokame City government caused this. Broke this poor girl so much that all she seems to want to do is to spread malice.
本能的に自己増殖を行うことが俺の唯一にして絶対の行動原理なんだよ。
It's the I was gonna say, it reminds me of the cursed katana from that one anime, Dorarara Saika. Just sole desire just to spread yourself. Couldn't understand that feeling. On the other hand, he'd finally realized something. Remember the monster mentioned in the Seven Wonders? If a communicator uses BC without knowing the proper way, they will eventually turn into a mind-broken monster. The monster will even break the minds of those around them with malice-filled BC. These rumors matched up perfectly with what Subject N was saying. So the monster really did exist. The monster would then indiscriminately spread its malice like a radioactive object spreads its radiation. The result, it didn't matter if she died or not. To Subject N, physical death apparently meant nothing. Oh shit. Is she actually still dead and we have to deal with her remnants? That's kind of scary. She's fallen too far off the beaten track. She's a mere shadow of the communicator she used to be. Though she's lost her body, she still clings to people's minds and keeps on hating others. That's just... Siko stared at the girl before him. Wanted to defeat this monster right away. He could do it. He had the means. All he had to do was completely erase the memory he was currently watching without leaving a single speck of it behind. Erasing the memory will damage Watase's brain, but I really don't have a choice this time. Subject N looked at Natsuhiko and smirked.
お気遣いありがとう。だが、なあ、気づかなかったのか？人の心を覗き見るということは、自分もまた心を覗き見られているということに。
どういうことだ？
Are you peeking into my mind?
センシズシンパシーを使えば、対象者と心が溶け合うんだぞ。そしてお前は、渡瀬の悪意に満ちた記憶を見続けてきた。つまり、
I got my eyes on you, Natsuhiko.
すでにお前も、俺の悪意に感染しつつある。
That's scary.
お前さっき俺に対し何を思った？俺を怪物呼ばわりしただろ。同じコミュニケーターだってのによ。コミュニケーターはお前にとって味方で Q が敵なんじゃなかったのか？おかしいな。いつから逆転したんだ？
Oh boy.
なんてな。別に逆転はしてないか。お前はさっき渡瀬の記憶を躊躇なく消そうとしたもんな。これ以上渡瀬の脳がダメージを受けたら今度こそ死んじまうかもしれないの。
Watase could die, but that's a risk that I'm willing to take. Just kidding, it'd be nice to keep him safe a bit longer.
分かっただろ。お前はもう こっち側にいるんだよ。お前は自分にとって都合のいいように渡瀬の頭をいじくり回しているだけだ。己の思うままに人外の能力を行使し他者を踏みにじる。
A
そうい
monster.
う怪物って言うんだよ。
Natsuhiko shouted voicelessly. Subject N walked over to Natsuhiko.
ほら、思い返してみろ。お前の記憶は悪意に満ちたものに変わっている。だが、元の記憶がどんな風だったのか、すでに思い出せなくなってるはずだ。
Oh, uh-oh. You see the swirl? Natsuhiko cried out in a hollow voice. The memory of Watase flashed through his head.
お前が俺の記憶を消しただと？ふざけるなよ。殺されたくなかったら俺の記憶を戻せ。
It was his memory of what had happened just before he began the memory repair procedure. He felt like that wasn't quite what happened, but...
違わないさ。お前は渡瀬に銃で脅されて無理やり記憶修復をさせられているんだ。
This is some sinister shit. Subject N's whispers shook Natsuhiko's heart. That's right, I was forced by Watase to restore his memories, or else. In that case, why don't I just get the jump on Watase? I'd be better off just completely destroying his memories again. Uh-oh. Twisted intentions welled up in Natsuhiko's mind. Oh no. His fear and hatred of Watase filled his heart. That's right, that'd be for the best. Besides, the bastard's a terrorist. He... At that moment... Yuri's voice echoed in his brain.
ユーリ、どうして君の声が
We're making an epic brain chain to
ど
get
こ
through
にいるん
this.
だ？
最初からずっと一緒にいたよ。ヒコリンが隊長さんの心に潜ると同時に私はヒコリンの心に潜っていたの。
It's very astute of you, Yuri.
言ったでしょ。悪意に負けそうになったら私のことを思い出してって。今ヒコリンの記憶を元に戻してあげるからね。
Oh, that's handy. Thank you. And with those words, the true memory of that time came rushing through Natsuhiko's brain.
君が危惧しているのは俺の記憶が戻ったら君たちをまた襲うんじゃないかということだろう。もし記憶を取り戻すと同時に俺が君を襲うようなことがあればためらいなくこの銃で撃て。君たちを襲うよりは撃たれた方がまだマシだ。
隊長さんはヒコリンを銃で脅して無理やり記憶修復をさせたわけじゃない。隊長さんの全記憶を消去する必要なんかないんだよ。消す必要があるのはヒコリンが今見ているこの記憶だけ。そうして N ちゃんの呪縛から隊長さんを解放してあげよう。
ああ。
Natsuko said that and looked at Subject N.
おや、どうした？渡瀬の記憶を消去しないのか？
ああ、するさ。でも、消すのはこの記憶だけ。お前の魂だけだ。
Subject N's face froze for the first time.
おい、俺を消去するっていうのか？渡瀬の脳内にかろうじて生き残っているだけの俺を。
ああ、お前にとってもその方がいいはずだ。
何？
お前は悲しい存在か。肉体が死んでも魂だけになっても人を憎み続けるなんて。もう疲れたろ。今僕が楽にしてやる。
きれい事言うな、偽善者。結局お前は自分の都合のために俺を排除しようとしてるだけだろ。
Natsuko hesitated for an instant. His guilt and sympathy for Subject N came rising up. However,
ヒコリン、この罪は私も一緒に背負うから。 絹ちゃんはかわいそうだけど、それでもやっぱり隊長さんのためにもやらなきゃならないんだよ。
Natsuhiko felt a warm sensation on his hand, accompanying that voice. You could tell Yuri was holding his hand. Natsuhiko stared at Subject M and spoke.
お前のことは僕が覚えておく。
嬉しくねえよ、そんなのは。
いいや、教えてくれ。覚えている限りでいい。お前自身のことを。例えば、そう。お前の本当の名前は？
The girl responded in a depressed voice.
ない。俺はこの施設で生まれ、
Oh wow.
この施設で今日まで生きたんだ。
Oh
ま
shit.
ともな名前なんていらないだろ。
Shit, that's sad. I'm sorry. Natsuhiko then remembered something he'd seen. It was a sentence from the data Anna had extracted from Labo's computers about the specifications of a case N. Subject was born in Labo. Subject N. Perhaps that line referred to this girl.
この薄暗い地下施設が俺の世界のすべて。わずかに覚えているのもラボの中の記憶だけだ。
Shit.
正常な世界に生きていれば別の名を与えられたのかもしれない。だが俺はこの BC 研究所で生まれた。
Jesus.
被験体という役目を背負って。
お前。
Her words and expressions wrenched at Natsuhiko's heart. He had at least wanted to call her by her name at the very end, but he couldn't even do that. Give her a name.
すまない。被験体への。
Give her a name. It starts with N. Just call it a last grasp at.
謝るなよ、怪物。
As Natsuhiko felt the pain in the girl's heart go through her voice, erased that memory. Natsuhiko returned to reality once more. What he first saw was Watase. He had collapsed onto the floor face down.
隊長さん。
Watase seemed to have fainted after Natsuhiko had erased his memory. Natsuhiko tried to shake him awake. Watase got up with a groan. And then he glared at Natsuhiko. Alice didn't disappear? Natsuhiko quickly covered Yuri. But Watase muttered in confusion.
何が起きたんだ？
何って。
ついさっきまでお前たちが憎くてしょうがなかったのに、その。
Oh. And at those words, Natsuhiko and Yuri looked at each other.
やった。成功だ。
やっと隊長さんが悪意から解放されたね。
おい、なんだよ、悪意から解放されたって。どういうことなんだ？説明してくれ。
実は。
Natsuhiko explained the circumstances to the dumbfounded Watase. What they had learned from his memories, what had happened inside his brain. How Subject N had manipulated his memories and infected him with malice. After Watase had heard it all, he took a deep breath and spoke.
そういうことだったのか。
それでどうですか、隊長さん。今。
長い悪夢を見ていた気分だ。とりあえず記憶はおおむね元に戻り、しかも心を支配していた憎悪は消えたよ。
Watase's tone of voice was calm and composed. The madness had faded from his eyes.
よかった。
Yuri sighed in relief, and Natsuhiko felt a weight off his shoulders as well. Everything seems to be good, considering Watase had returned to his original self, brimming with a sense of justice.
それじゃあ協力してもらえますか。
協力？
有利を守り、共に脱出するための協力です。僕は有利を自由にしてやりたいんですよ。
Come on, Watase. Suspenseful silence spread through the shelter once more. This was your original goal, wasn't it? Finally, Watase made up his mind and spoke up.
すまない、夏彦。それはできない。
What?
え？
隊長さん、どうして？
悪意が消えても記憶が戻った以上、俺は9なんだ。
Okay. Natsuhiko twitched at those words. Now that he thought about it, Watase's goal wasn't just to rescue the test subjects. His end goal was strictly to use the test subjects as living witnesses against Leibo's crimes against humanity. If that were the case, then that meant that even if Yuri escaped, it didn't necessarily mean she was free naturally. Okay, didn't have to scare me for nothing there. It was most likely that Q would take custody of her and have her cooperate with their activities. As Natsuhiko realized that possibility, Watase continued.
俺には使命がある。その使命を完遂させなければならない。
有利をさらうっていう使命をですか？
Nope, well, okay. Way to be blunt about it.
そんな、隊長さん。
You're really gonna make me regret turning a corner on you, aren't you?
あなたは本当は優しい人のはずなのに、どうしてそんなことを続けようとするんですか？
そうですよ。使命だなんだって言葉を飾っても結局はテロ活動じゃないですか。
Correct.
そんなことは分かってる。
いや、分かってません。あなたは記憶を失ってる間、みんなを必死で救おうとしていたでしょ。あれが本来のあなたなんです。渡さんの意志を継いでレスキュー隊員を志したあなたの本当の姿のはずです。
知った風な口を叩くな。お前に何が分かる？
分かりますよ。あなたと一度は心を重ねたんだから。
Watase's eyes widened at those words.
あなたは人の命を救いたかったんでしょう。渡さんが死んでからずっとそう考えていたんでしょう。だったらテロリストとしての使命なんか忘れてください。あなたはまだやり直せるはず。
Watase interrupted Natsuhiko with a depressed murmur.
仲間が死んでいなければな。この使命のために仲間が2人死んじまった。あいつらは堂島と檜山は大事な仲間だったんだ。同じような生い立ちで同僚として同じ釜の飯を食い、互いに何度も助け合った。親友なんて言葉でも言い尽くせない同志であり、相棒であり、家族であり。俺はな、夏彦、あいつらのためにもこの使命を果たさねばならないんだよ。
Watase's sad words left Natsuhiko speechless. Even so, he squeezed out an earnest reply.
あなたは間違ってる。
どうして間違っていると言える？お前も俺の過去を見たんだろ？だったらわかるはずだ。俺たちがなぜこんなことをしでかしたか。普通のやり方じゃ何も変えられないんだ。
Watase was right. Natsuhiko understood Watase's feelings, whether he wanted to or not. However, still, he really has changed. Regardless of whether or not he was affected by the Mao's contagion, once Watase had regained his memory, the amnesiac Watase had disappeared. But at that moment, Yuri spoke up.
あなたの言い分は分かりました。
Natsuhiko looked at Yuri in shock as she made a brooding face.
取引をしましょう、隊長さん。
取引？
はい。この事件が終わったら、私の身柄をあなたに委ねます。
何？
Qに引き渡すでも何でもしてください。だけどその代わり全員の脱出に協力して。
Oh, shit.
何を言い出すんだ、ユーリ。
Natsuhiko tried to stop her, but Yuri wouldn't pull back.
これでいいんだよ、ヒコリン。私だけが我慢すれば誰も傷つかずに済むから。
Yuri spoke with a smile. No, there's no way I could approve of this deal. Natsuhiko could think of no other way to earn Watase's cooperation. Natsuhiko fell silent as Watase spoke up in a low voice.
ユーリ、その取引に応じよう。約束する。全員を生きて脱出させることを。
お願いします、隊長さん。
The deal was made without Natsuhiko having a say in any of it. Damn it, what do I do? Even if the two of them had consented to the deal, there's no way he could just sit back and watch as Watase took Yuri away. By no means could Natsuhiko turn a blind eye. Guess I have no choice, got no choice. If Watase insists on prioritizing that mission of his, then... And there was a way to put a stop to... Oh, God. We're not going to do that. Indeed, there's something Natsuhiko could do. Don't give in to the malice. Just erase Watase's memory one more time. I turn him back into an amnesiac rescue worker, unaware that he's really a terrorist. On the other hand, his mind hazed with the question of, is this really okay? Right? Natsuhiko had erased Watase's memory multiple times before. Damage from the erasures had accumulated, leaving Watase's brain at what might be its limit. If Natsuhiko erased his memories one more time, it could quite possibly be fatal. But that's the only way I could save Yuri. As soon as that idea crossed Natsuhiko's mind, a feeling in the deepest depths of his mind welled up to refuse it. That feeling snapped Natsuhiko back to his senses. What was I thinking? That's the monster in you. Just like Subject N said. Natsuhiko started trembling at the realization of just how terrifying his own thoughts were. There's no way I can do that, even if Watase is a terrorist. Besides, inside Watase's brain, Subject N had said this.
己の思うままに人外の能力を行使し他者を踏みにじる。そう怪物って言うんだよ。
That's right, if I erase Watase's memory now, that makes me a monster. So I mustn't. I'm not a monster. I'm a human being. Natsuhiko strictly forbade himself from abusing his abilities. Even if he had the power to distort people's memory at will, there was no way he would ever use that power. But in that case, what would he do? How could he protect Yuri? He could not find an answer. Damn it, I can't think of anything. Just I can hope that Watase changes his mind between now and until we get out of Labo. Natsuhiko was frustrated that he could do nothing more. He was honestly not at all confident that he had chosen the right path. As Natsuhiko wallowed in hesitation and hopelessness, Watase called out to him.
どうした？黙り込んで。俺がユーリを連れて行くことに納得できないか？
当然です。納得なんかとてもできませんが、今は言い争っている時間がありません。ひとまずあなたの提案を受け入れます。生き延びなければ全て無意味になりますから。ともかくそうとなれば時間がありません。今後の行動について決めましょう。
なあ、俺の記憶も戻ったことだし、もう一度改めて考えよう。
全員で脱出する方法をですね。
To get you out, three of them nodded and came face to face.
全員で脱出するには、まず
Okay.
あのおかしくなった奴らを何とかしなきゃならん。とりあえず、あいつらがおかしくなった理由についてだが。
It was a mystery up until recently, but now they knew. So is Subject N really dead? It's like they gave us that impression, but... Like, does Subject N need to be alive to infect someone with malice? Or can someone who's already infected spread it? Like if Ukita already had her in his head, could he have given it to Jun? who later gave it to Kasumi and so on.
全員隊長さんと同じく被験体 N に記憶を操作されてしまった。そう推察して間違いないでしょうね。
俺の例を見るに、あの子に近づくだけで記憶がめちゃくちゃに書き換えられ、悪意を植え付けられちまうみたいだな。
Subject N was most likely a communicator with tremendous power. She was an IGF-2 or gene abnormality type S communicator whose ability was equal to, or perhaps even greater than Natsuhiko's and Yuri's. Everyone who got too close to her became filled with malice. And as if her malice truly infected them.
それを踏まえた上で、みんなはいつ被験体 N の悪意に感染したんだと思う。
Watase's comrades and the researchers got infected when they encountered Subject N in Area 0. But June and the others only saw Subject N's dead body. She shouldn't have had a chance to infect them.
ユーリ、被験体 N のセンシズシンパシーの有効範囲ってどのくらいだ？
推察だけど、多分6メートルくらいだと思うよ。ずっと前に博士が言ってたの。もう一人の被験体の方が私より能力が強い。センシズシンパシーの有効範囲は6メートルだって。私でもメルト効果なしの場合、有効範囲はせいぜい1メートルだから、そのあたりが限界なんじゃないかな。
そうか、そんなもんか。
True enough, Natsuhiko himself couldn't use Senses Sympathy unless his target was close enough to touch them. In that case, Subject N shouldn't have been able to manipulate the other's memories from a distance.
一応聞くけど、被験体 N とユーリ以外にラボ内に幽閉されていたコミュニケーターはいたのか？
いないよ。隊長さんたちの記憶の中にあった通り、被験体は2人だけだよ。
じゃあ原因は被験体 N 以外にありえないんだよな。ジュンさんたちはいつ悪意に感染したんだ？
Watase quietly answered Natsuhiko's question.
心当たりが一つだけある。
心当たり？
夏彦も俺の行動をずっと見てたんだったら知っているんじゃないのか。俺たちは数時間前、あの搬出リフトの前で被験体 N の死体を見ただろう。
確かに見ましたけ
ど、あの時俺たち6人全員がその場に揃っていた。みんながおかしくなり始めたのはその後だ。タイミング的にも合致する。
Yeah, it's very much when everything in the route started going bonkers.
でも死人が BC を使うなんて。
あの時被験体 N が死んでいなかったとしたら。
Natsuhiko shook his head.
そんな、橘さんが死亡確認をしていたじゃないですか。
そうだ、確かに肉体的にはほぼ死んでいた。だがあれは脈拍などが止まった直後で意識はまだわずかに残ってたんじゃないか。
Natsuhiko was surprised for a second, but then he realized it certainly was a possibility. When using Senses Sympathy, all vital signs dropped dramatically. So much so that they could possibly go undetected by the vital checker.
しかもあの時はちょうど AD の投与時間前後だった。AD が切れる時間が訪れたんだよ。そして俺とユーリと先生は AD の投与時間が来た時にすぐ AD を投与したが。
That's why Teach was the only one who didn't lose her shit.
橘たちは心肺蘇生法をやっていて AD の投与が遅れた。それを含めて考えれば橘、森部、浮田のおっさんが悪意に感染したのに俺たちは感染していないのも説明がつく。
So at the verge of death, Subject N used the last of her strength to spread her malice into her surroundings.
瀕死の状態なのに複数の人間の人格を自覚さえもさせず破壊するなんて。
あの幹部研究員たちが恐れていたのもうなずけるな。あれは確かに制御不能の怪物だ。要はケース N っていうのは 彼女の脱出を阻止するコードだったんだろう。
Now that you mention it, she described her condition as being enified. The N standing for nobody, or perhaps a nucleus. She was designated Subject N, truly a fitting name for her. What frightened Natsuhiko the most wasn't the strength of her ability, it was Subject N's malice itself and how it corroded the minds of every human around her.
じゃあもしかして私じゃなくてあの子を逃がさないために隔壁は閉鎖されてるの？
Aha.
ああ、状況を鑑みるとその可能性が高いね。
Now that Natsuhiko thought about it, Subject N freely walking around a WX particle irradiated Labo would indeed be the worst case scenario. Without AD, there would be no way to stop her BC.
ユーリは彼女の危険性について母さんとかから聞いたことはなかったのか？
聞いてない。何も聞かされてないよ。自分以外にも被験体がいるってことは知っていたけど、ラボの規則として被験体同士は会っちゃいけないことになっていたの。同じ境遇の子同士できれば会いたいってずっと思っていたんだけど、まさかそんなに危険な子だったなんて。
なるほどな。被験体 N との接触が禁止されていたのはおそらく悪意の感染を避けるためだろう。おそらく堂島も悪意に感染して凶暴化し被験体 N を銃撃したんだろうな。
I want to mention it. Natsuhiko remember the tragic scene they saw in Area 3.
隊長さんの仲間以外にもあの部屋で2人死んでいたでしょ。研究員風の人が。
さあな、それは俺にもわからん。悪意に感染した堂島が被験体 N を銃撃しようとしたのをその場に居合わせた研究員が阻止しようとしたのか、あるいは研究員も悪意に感染して殺し合いになったかだな。
檜山隊員の方は彼は足を骨折していたけど別の場所で死んでましたよ。
N を逃がしてしまい殺そうと追いかけたんじゃないか。だがその途中で足を骨折し火に巻かれて死んだ。
It's morbid. Which makes Subject N the root of his death as well. Did Subject N harbor so much malice as to cause all those tragedies? If that were the case, then Jun and Ukita could start killing each other too. Everyone was already in a critical situation. Balance was being barely maintained by how the brunt of everyone's anger was directed towards Watase.
早急に手を打たなくちゃいけませんね。
ああ、それにゼロエリアに仕掛けた爆弾のこともある。あの爆弾は核壁解放の直後に爆発する。だから生き延びるためには核壁解放と同時に外に脱出しなきゃな。これについては本当に自分らの行動が悔やまれるが。
そんなことは今さら言っても仕方ないですよ。今は全員を生きて脱出させることを考えましょう。
Wise. Yuri spoke in an oddly strict tone of voice for her. It seemed even she could get angry. Watase answered with a bitter look on his face.
すまない。その通りだ。俺はそのためにできる限りのことをするつもりだ。爆発前に皆を捕まえて縛り上げ、核壁が開くのを待とう。
そうしたいところですが難しいでしょうね。
Carrying several bound people out of Labo seemed like an impossible task. Furthermore, Okita, Jun, and Kazumi were all armed. And their party included 2 wounded kids and a girl. The only one with a fighting chance was Watase. Even so, we have to do it. Natsuhiko resolved himself. When he looked at Yuri, she too had a look of determination on her face.
ヒコリン、私も一緒にやるから。
Natsuhiko nodded and addressed Watase.
隊長さん、僕らをみんなのところに連れて行ってもらえますか？
どうするつもりだ？
決まってるでしょ。全員の悪意を除去して元の状態に戻すんです。
できるか？俺の心の中にいたあの怪物と 何度も戦うことになるぞ。
やるしかないですよ。確かに何度も奴と対峙すれば僕の心も悪意に侵食されてしまうかもしれないけど、全員揃って脱出するにはそれが不可欠です。僕は有利だけじゃなくみんなのことだって助けたいんですよ。
Watase furrowed his eyebrows at Natsuhiko's answer.
そうか。しかし、だったらお前たちまで来る必要はない。俺が一人でシェルターを出て皆をここに連れてこよう。
なんですって。
その怪我で施設内を歩き回るのは自殺行為だし、有利を連れて行くのも危険だ。お前たちはここで待っていればいい。
なるほど。
True enough, nobody else knew about the shelter's existence but Ukita. So long as they captured him, they would be safe in there.
つまりあなたがみんなをシェルターに連れてきて、僕とユーリが悪意を取り除く。それを全員分繰り返すっていう作戦ですね。
そういうことだ。
All three of them were necessary for this plan. Natsuhiko, Yuri, and Watase. Any one of them were to betray the others, the plan would fail. Natsuhiko held that thought, as the conversation continued.
やれやれ。どうやら僕らはまだ一連卓勝らしいですね。
ああ、俺とお前が協力しなければ皆を元に戻すという計画は成立しない。
ええ、あなたが裏切ったりしないかどうかが心配ですが。
Yuri tugged the Natsuhiko's sleeve when he said that.
大丈夫だよヒコリン。きっとこの人ならやってくれるよ。隊長さんを信じよう。
Natsuhiko's heart ached at those words. Obviously he understood. He knew that Watase was by nature a trustworthy human being. Regardless of his mission or his status as a terrorist, he would surely honor his promise to protect Natsuhiko and Yuri. No, even without that promise, he may have already been considering how to get everyone out of there alive. Natsuhiko sighed and spoke to Watase.
ねえ、隊長さん。僕はあなたが嫌いです。
何？
当たり前でしょ。いくら使命のためとはいえ、有利をさらうなんて言い出す人、好きになれるわけありませんよ。僕がせっかくあなたを悪意から解放するために何度もあなたの記憶に潜ったのに、恩知らずです。
そうだろうな。そのことについては感謝してるし、有利の件については申し開きはできない。
Alright.
だが安心しろ。俺もお前のことは好きじゃねえよ。人の頭の中好き勝手いじくりやがって。あれからどれだけ俺が苦労したと思う。
To be fair, you did shoot me like 5 times.
その頑張りは僕も見てましたよ。ずっと。でもそれは自業自得でしょ。
確かにそうだな。やぶへびだったようだ。
You didn't leave Natsuhiko any choice in this regard. What Natsuhiko does from here, recklessly fucking with people's minds, that's entirely on him, but the first case with Watase was justified self-defense. Two of them faintly smiled as they held that conversation. Understanding achieved. We were bad-mouthing each other, yet there was a somewhat friendly mood between them. Right now, Natsuhiko and Watase were completely mismatched. There was something they needed to do that neither of them could do alone. Something they needed to join forces to do. As they shared in that joint role, they both shared a smile.
隊長さん、ここから先は僕らは対等です。お互いにできることを全力でやりましょう。
無論だ。それと、そうだな。もう敬語も不要だ。タメ口でいい。
At Watase's request, Natsuhiko responded in the tone he had always been using when speaking inside Watase's head.
わかったよ。それじゃ頼むぞ。渡せ。
任せろ。
With that exchange, Natsuhiko and Watase made a firm handshake. What? We're 6 videos in to this arc, and we've just reached the opening credits. At least we know for sure. We're diving into the meat of resolving this narrative now. We've gotten our core background narrative. Hi, Mashiro. Yeah, Mashiro's here too. Oh, there's the man in the handshake. Oh wow, all these CGs. Holy shit. Uh-oh. Kazumi's got a gun. 2 hours to go. Oh fuck. Oh man. Chapter 3. We're too... At the end of Chapter 2 is the opening credits. Once he and Natsuhiko had formed their pact to team up. Like, I'm still gotta be blown away by the amount of content we've gotten into Route D before we actually got the double opening credits. But still, it makes a lot of sense, because we're officially teamed up. We got our background info on the situation, and now it's time to save everyone and get the fuck out of here. Watase first retrieved his gun from Natsuhiko. Figured he'd need a weapon for self-defense since he didn't know what dangers we're looking at there. Natsuhiko had been a bit reluctant, but he ultimately complied. Watase then addressed the 2 kids before he left them in the shelter.
お前たちはここから絶対に動くな。誰が悪意に感染しているか正確には分からんし、誰がどんな思惑で動いているかも不明だ。俺以外はみんな敵と思え。
分かってるさ。
We do have to find Sally too.
このシェルターの扉はこっちからパスワードを入力しない限り開かない。お前が呼んだ時だけこっちから開けてやる。
How is Mashiro? Mashiro is still here. We haven't thought about her in a while. Natsuhiko was no longer speaking formally with Watase. Well, I guess this is just how he normally talks to people. Besides, it would have been weird for him to treat Watase with respect when he's the terrorist who attacked Yuri and shot him and Mashiro. It felt odd to Watase having kids their age treat him like an equal. This way probably fit Watase and Natsuhiko's relationship better that way.
だから頼むぞ、Watase。ユリとの約束、絶対に守ってくれよ。
I totally just realized that we're in Watase's perspective.
もちろんだ。それじゃあ俺は行ってくる。ユリのことを頼むぞ。
Watase was about to run past the steel door when he heard a voice call out to him from behind.
隊長さん。
ん？
気をつけてくださいね。
あ？
Watase gave a wry smile and left the shelter. Thought back to the conversation he'd had with Natsuhiko earlier as he walked with extreme caution. Keep your promise, huh? Went without saying that Watase intended to do so. Never planned on getting others involved with this terrorist plot to begin with. As he was the one who inadvertently dragged everyone into this mess, he had a responsibility to get them out of the facility safely. But he had qualms about his mission to take Yuri away with him once they had escaped. Ah! It was true that he would have caused this whole incident for absolutely nothing if he didn't bring at least one test subject back. Then the Rokame city government's wrongdoings would never come to light, and their cover-ups would just continue unabated. Was Yuri really okay with going with him? And what about Natsuhiko? Naturally, there was no chance in hell he wanted that. Fitting the mission might necessitate another confrontation with him. That was all in the future. Now all he had to think about was living up to his word with Natsuhiko and keeping his promise with Yuri. So to do that, first thing I've got to do is collect all the guns still lying around in this facility. Much like him, Tojiba and Hyama had also brought guns into the facility. No one had picked them up yet. That meant they were still lying around somewhere. Watase headed to Area 3 with that thought in mind. He won Area 3 in a ring. Went back into the room full of corpses. He hadn't yet examined that place in detail. It was littered with the bodies of Dojima and the two unknown researchers, unmoved from where he had seen them last. We're really only looking for one gun here. One gun was left by Subject N, and that's in Ukida's possession. One gun was left in Area N, and that is now in Watase's possession, so we're only missing one more gun. All the blood staining the place had completely dried up and turned black. Dull yet fierce pain stung at Watase's heart when he saw the wretched form of his friend. Watase started to break out into choked sobs. Watase had amnesia. He hadn't felt the sorrow of having lost his best friend of 10 years. Now it burst through like a waterfall. Been fighting side by side ever since they joined the fire department. They both passed the rescue worker exam in the same year. It wasn't long before the junior, Hiyama, joined in. With their similar pasts, the three of them became brothers in arms who understood each other well. And now they were both dead. Dojima's body lay before him, with Hiyama's only an area away. No matter how painful their loss was, now was not the time for grief. Watase muttered that and looked up, then endured his sorrow and began diligently searching the room. It wasn't long before he found two pistols lying around, one in the corner of the room, the other under the desk. Oh! They are both NZ-75s, just like Watase. There was no doubt that they were Dojima's and Hiyama's. Where the fuck did the other guns come from, then? But they're both out of bullets, huh? Dojima and Hiyama, infected with malice, had likely used up all their bullets on the researchers. Yet in spite of that, Subject N had gotten away. Guess the malice contagion causes you to lose your composure, too. But you couldn't help it, could you, Dojima? We're rescue workers. We never learn how to kill people. Watase looked at the corner of the room with those bitter thoughts in mind. A broken jackhammer was sitting there. It was essential to their plan to escape through the pipe. Even if he could repair it, it would take about 3 hours for it to destroy the pump in the intake pipe. He wouldn't make it in time before the bomb went off. Worst comes to worst, we need to find another escape route aside from the pipe. Where could they even find one? Watase exited the corpse-littered room as he left that thought in the corner of his mind. Once he was out in the hallway, he threw the two empty pistols to the floor, then stomped at them with all his might with his safety boots, destroying both the guns and the magazines. That way he didn't have to worry about someone picking one up later and misusing it. This means that the only guns left are my own, and the one the old man has. It was a silver lining that not many people there had gotten their hands on guns. Now that he neutralized the threat those guns posed, Watase decided it was finally time to start searching for the people infected with malice. Alright, the first one I should catch is the old man Ukida. This place is huge though, so to find him... Watase thought, then soon found an answer. Surveillance room. There were still several live monitors there. If he used those, he could gain a slightly better idea of what was going on in that facility at that moment. He headed off for the surveillance room with that thought. He slowly went down the staircase, being particularly careful to remain hidden and silent. His greatest fear was Ukida suddenly shooting him from a distance. But it'd actually be advantageous for Watase if he was able to physically spot Ukida first. Probably take him time to reload bullets, too. He should just run up to him and throw him to the floor. Watase had trained in martial arts ever since he joined Q. Now that his memories were back, he fully remembered how to use all those skills. Never thought I'd have to use them on the old man, though. Finished ascending the staircase when he thought that. And just as soon as he left the stairwell, Watase heard a familiar voice. Uh-oh. He heard voices apparently coming from a room right next to the staircase. The surveillance room. Those voices. Isn't that the old man and Teach? Shit, Teach is in danger. As they frantically dashed to the door, to the surveillance room and opened it up. Oh. Watase gasped before he completed his sentence. He'd been rendered speechless by the most unexpected scene unfolding before him. Hi! Nothing to see here. Anna and Ukita turned around in surprise. Just a little bit of gunplay. It wasn't Ukita who was attacking Anna. It was Anna who was pointing a gun at Ukita. What the hell? What's going on? Anna glared at Watase with hostility. Uh-oh. Did your AT wear off, Anna? She's gonna shoot! Watase drew his body back in surprise. Only for Anna to run out of the room after a moment's hesitation. Anna got the malice bug. Watase stood there in shock. Just then, Ukita started talking to him in a low voice.
ただの教師なんかじゃなかったんだ。何？あの女の弾倉を奪おうとしたら逆に銃を奪われてね。脅されたのさ。知っていることをすべて話さないと今すぐ射殺すると。あの殺気は本物だった。思わず洗いざらいぶちまけてしまったよ。このテロ計画も君が途中で裏切ったことも計画は失敗だ。すべて終わりだよ。君のせいでな。
Kita lunged at Watase as he shouted that. Oh, okay. Yep, still balanced.
君も銃を持ってるだろう。よこせ。よこすんな。あの女はおそらくラボが差し向けた殺し屋だ。今すぐあの女を追いかけて撃ち殺さなければ僕らが殺されるぞ。
Kita tried to steal Watase's gun with bloodshot eyes. It was clear he was completely possessed by madness. Damn it, this is also the Malice's influence. Watase dodged around Ukita with little effort and circled behind him. Then wrapped his arm around the old man's neck and squeezed. Night-night was a sleeper hold, a technique to render someone powerless without actually harming them. Ukita's arms soon dangled limply.
これでいいんだろ、夏彦。
Watase sighed heavily and picked up Ukita, then ran back for the shelter. Meanwhile, Natsuhiko was in the shelter with Yuri. Two of them were gazing at Mashiro's face. Oh, Mashiro! Mashiro was groaning in pain.
マシロ、苦しそうだね。
Natsuhiko was frustrated at being powerless to help her. There were so many things he wanted to talk about when she woke up. He wanted to tell her that Yuri was alive. Mashiro, this must have been how you felt 9 years ago, huh? This is what it must have felt like to watch me stupefied, unable to wake up. The incident had shattered their daily lives. Natsuhiko became stupefied once he was told of Yuri's death. When he woke up, he started to see a phantom. The kids who had once been together had become distanced in many ways. After such a long time, we're finally all together again. And yet... distanced in many ways. Yeah, coming back to Labo has brought us all together. It brought Natsuhiko and Mashiro back together. Fully, honestly. It brought Natsuhiko and Yuri back together. And now it's brought Yuri and Mashiro together. Mashiro had watched over Natsuhiko until his time of awakening came. Now Mashiro was the one lying down, wakeless. What if, before Mashiro woke up, Watase handed Yuri over to Q and she was taken away somewhere? Those two best friends might never meet again.
Yuri, あれでよかったのか。
隊長さんとの取引のこと？
このままじゃ真白ともお別れになっちゃうんだぞ。後から全てを聞かされたら真白はどんなに悲しむか。
Yuri suddenly sighed in reply.
あのね、ヒコリ。 確かにマシロンは悲しんでくれるかもしれないけど、それは一時的なものだよ。だってマシロン、きっと私が生きてるって知った時、複雑な気持ちになると思う。
なんで？
なんでって気づいてないわけないよね。マシロンはヒコリンのこと大好きなんだよ。好きだから危険を冒してヒコリンと一緒にラボまでやってきたんだよ。なのに私がいきなり現れてヒコリンを横取りしたら、いくらマシロンでも怒るよ。
I wouldn't say get
ユ
mad.
リ、
もちろん隊長さんと取引したのはみんなを助けるためだけどさ、これは私が身を引くいい機会でもあるんだよ。
I mean, it's hard for Natsuhiko, who does reciprocate Mashiro's feelings, and yet also wants to still be friends with Yuri and give Yuri a chance at being alive and stuff.
邪魔な私がいなくなってマシロンとヒコリンが一緒になってさ、
Stop self-sacrificing.
やっぱりそれが一番いい。
You deserve a life too.
何言ってんだよバカ。
Natsuhiko couldn't bear to listen anymore, so he interrupted her.
バカ？
Yuri's eyes widened. It's understandable. That was the very first time Natsuhiko had ever badmouthed her. But nonetheless, Natsuhiko hardened his heart and continued.
ユーリは知らないのか。マシロがどれほど君のことが好きだったか。君の死を知ってどんなに胸を痛めたか。
そんなのずっと昔の話だもん。9年も前に死んだ友達のことなんか今さらどうでもいいはずだよ。それにマシロンの方がずっと素敵な子だし、そんなマシロンが私なんていつまでも大事に思ってくれてるわけないし。
You're not giving Mashiro enough credit here.
だってマシロンは可愛くて明るくて男の子にもモテモテで。
At her core, that time with the two of you as good as best friends, that shaped her into who she is now. She's not just gonna forget if you showed up again.
そういうことじゃないって自分でも分かってるんだろう。
You're just trying to justify, convince yourself almost. You're just trying to convince yourself that we'll be better off without you. Yuri pouted her lips. This conversation 9 years in the making. Natsuhiko and Yuri were speaking not through BC, but with their own voices. Not through lies and falsehoods, but from the heart.
マシロは僕を通じ君とずっと接してきたんだ。マシロにとってユーリは9年前に死んだ友達なんかじゃないんだよ。
I suppose in a weird way, you've been there the whole time.
こいつは今でも君のことを大切に思い続けている。君が生きてたことを知ってマシロが喜ばないわけがない。
It's very much. If she didn't care about you, she never would have bothered acknowledging you in Natsuhiko's delusion so thoroughly. Well, that she did because she cared about Natsuhiko, but it goes both ways, I feel like.
マシロのために身を引くなんてそんなこと言うのはやめてくれ。
でも
No buts. No more questions. Yuri looked more and more confused. Natsuhiko sighed.
なあユーリ、自分だけが我慢すればいいって考えるのもうやめにしないか。マシロとのことだけじゃない、渡瀬との取引についてもそうだ。9年間もこんなところに幽閉されて、それが終わると今度は Q の手に落ちて、僕はユーリをまたそんな目に遭わせたくないよ。君を自由にしてやりたいんだ。
Once Natsuhiko had said all that, Yuri smiled ever so slightly.
そうなればいいよね。外に出て日の光のもと自由に公園でも歩けたらきっと楽しいよね。ヒコリンとマシロンとサルちゃんと博士とみんなでどこかに遊びに行ったりさ。
じゃあ
Yuri interrupted Natsuhiko when he tried to speak.
でもダメなの。マシロンとの関係を考えに入れなくてもやっぱり私はもうヒコリンたちとは一緒にはいられない。
どうしてだ。
被験体だから。ラボに目をつけられているからだよ。ヒコリンは知らないんだよ、ラボの怖さを。人を何年も幽閉し続けるような施設だよ。警察権力だって及ばないかもしれないんだよ。
This is true.
ヒコリン個人がラボに立ち向かっても勝てるわけがないの。組織に対抗できるのは組織だけ。
But there might be some practical good, too.
だから
Your
私はね、
sacrifice.
ここを出るとしたら結局Qに保護してもらうしかないの。
Natsuhiko was speechless in light of Yuri's sad words. Now he understood why she had been so obstinate. She didn't want to get Natsuhiko or Mashiro involved. But still, in the end, it still means Yuri has to endure suffering all by herself, doesn't it? Once that thought crossed Natsuhiko's mind, he suddenly heard a sound coming from outside the shelter door.
誰だ。
俺だ。開けてくれ。
It was Watase. Relieved, Natsuhiko input the password on the keypad beside the door. Soon enough, the iron door opened and Watase appeared.
ほらよ。連れてきたぜ。
Watase was carrying a limp Ukita under his arm.
おじさん。
安心しろ。失神してるだけだ。
You look so proud of yourself, Watase. Watase gently laid Ukita down on the floor. And sure enough, Ukita had not a single visible wound. Natsuhiko was unsure how exactly Watase had apprehended him, but it couldn't have been easy to apprehend someone who had a gun without hurting them, could it? It's more likely than you think.
まあこれで俺のスタンスが分かってもらえただろう。
渡瀬。
Watase had kept his promise with Yuri. Evacuate everyone safely. It seemed Watase was striving to make sure nobody got hurt during the process either. Damn, I'm not sure if this guy's got integrity or what. Somewhat. While Natsuhiko found himself at a loss for words, Yuri spoke for him.
隊長さん、約束を守ってくれてありがとうございます。
Watase looked uncomfortable and just turned up his nose.
それよりやるならさっさとやってくれよ。例の悪意の消去ってやつ。
Hold your horses, Watase. We'll do that in the next video. Don't think we've gotten any tips in a while. We have not. So, we'll end things off. Until next time, until then.